decision isn't yours to make. Don't lie about the way things are. Tall tales will take you very far. Don't scoff when they say it's the end. In this life, you know you can't pretend. The days pass by, baby, set in stone. But it's not too late now for you to change your tone. Don't speak, don't speak. Open your soul, don't harden your heart.
Hey everyone, it's Marianne from the New York City Organization of Public Service Retirees. Today is June 11th and is just after 6 p.m. And we have an interview going on today with Justin Brannan, who is running for Comptroller of the City of New York. So I don't want to take up too much time because I know you guys probably have a million questions. But today I am actually sitting next to Justin Brannan.
Hi, everybody. This is our state-of-the-art studio here.
Yeah. So let's see if we could
It's a new talk show we're
kind
trying
of
to
like squeeze us in together.
Let's go.
Okay. So I know you guys have a lot of questions and you do want to hear from him. And he had a really good debate last night with Mark Levine running for Comptroller. So I'm going to let Justin speak and then I will take questions. So Justin, the floor is yours.
Cool. Thanks, Marianne. Thanks for having me. Hello to our New York City retirees. It's good to see you guys. Appreciate you tuning in tonight. I'm sure everyone's got a million things going on. I'm Councilman Justin Brannan. I was born and raised in Brooklyn. I grew up working class. My mom was a teacher. My dad was a salesman. My wife is a small business owner and an art teacher. Growing up, I wanted to be a member of the Ramones, not a member of the city council. I learned 3 chords at McKinley Junior High School, and those 3 chords afforded me a career as a world touring musician for almost 10 years of my life. So now, as a politician, as an elected official, I fight really hard for increased funding in our schools, for arts and music funding in our schools, so that every kid can have the opportunity to be in a world touring punk rock band when they grow up. I worked my way up. I always loved helping people. I love to serve, so I got interested in local politics, and I ran for city council. I worked for my predecessor, ran for city council, and worked my way up to become the chair of the finance committee, where I now oversee the largest municipal budget in the country at $115 billion. So every year I have to lead negotiations and do oversight hearings of the budget. And that's what got me thinking about running for Comptroller. I would not be running for Comptroller if I wasn't already chair of the finance committee. I'm not just looking to climb the ladder of power. I'm happy to go back on tour or deliver pizzas or whatever I have to do to support my family. I'm not just looking to, continue my time as a politician. But I think in this moment, we need someone who's got the experience, the budget experience, and someone who's got the guts to stand up and fight back and hold our next mayor accountable, whoever they may be, and certainly fight back against Donald Trump, because we have never had a president who's had his nose so far into our business here in the city of New York. And we're already seeing Elon Musk, clawing back $80 million while we're asleep, hundreds of $1 million that what the White House is trying to claw back of money that was appropriated by Congress legally. They have no legal authority to claw back that money. And unfortunately, we have an administration in City Hall right now who is compromised and colluding with the federal government. And therefore, it takes them a long time to fight back. It took City Hall almost 2 weeks to sue the White House to get the money back that Elon Musk tried to take from us. So you need someone in this moment who's going to look after number one responsibility of the CFO, of the Comptroller of the City of New York, is to serve as a fiduciary to the city's 5 pension funds that are almost at $300 billion. That is your number one priority. Everything else comes second. And then you have audit power and subpoena power to make sure that the city agencies are spending money efficiently and properly. And you have to root out waste and corruption and fraud, which there's plenty of right now with the Adams administration, who's basically given us Tammany Hall 2.0. And look, for me, the issue, I was a sponsor of 1099. I'm now a sponsor of 1096. For me, it's just, this is about a promise that the city made with our city workers, right? The people that signed up to work for the city decades ago, my belief has always been that whatever healthcare plan they were promised on the first day that they started working, that is the healthcare plan that they should enjoy until they're 400 years old. Period. The end. That is a covenant, a promise that the city makes with its workers. To pull the rug out from underneath retirees for the sake of balancing the budget is just wrong, and it's not what our city should be about. It's a disgrace, and I think ultimately, once you guys win in court, the city hall is just going to surrender and give up. And I think just about everybody running for mayor has already promised that they're not going to continue down the path of pursuing Medicare Advantage. So anyway, I want to leave some time to take your questions, but I'm really happy to be here with you tonight. I had a good debate last night on New York One, and the issue came up of Medicare Advantage. I spoke about how it's a slippery slope towards privatization, and we're fighting privatization on all fronts right now. We're fighting. I represent Coney Island. I have a lot of NYCHA developments in Coney, and we're fighting the slippery slope to privatization of public housing, the same way we're fighting against the slippery slope of privatization of healthcare. It's been a long day. So, and look, I have lots of people in my family, my mom, my aunt, my uncle. I mean, I have so many people in my family who are retirees, my godmother, who are teachers and retirees. So this was just the right thing to do, and something that we need to continue fighting for, because the fight's not over. But it's great to be here with you tonight, and let's chat.
Absolutely. Okay, so we have a couple questions here. Oops, hide that one. Okay, so John says, Speaker Adams has been a major obstacle to moving Bill 1096. Your political relationship with her is noted. My question is, can you persuade Ms. Adams to endorse 1096 and get it to the mayor's desk?
Sure. So look, Speaker Adams and I are very close friends. And I know she also has retirees in her family. And let's not forget that all of these city council members are also future city retirees. So we should all care about this very much. There's always been an issue with, our lawyers in the city council still believe that the way to really do this the right way and for it to stick is to do it by winning in court. So I think what needs to happen is we need to, I think you guys are going to win in court, and I think then City Hall is going to fold. But I think once that happens, then we need to see that if we're worried that it's not going to stick, then I think you're going to see a renewed push to actually get this bill passed. So, but I think we're on the right track right now. I mean, the election is in 13 days. So right now everyone is focused on the election, but I think we need to wait and see what happens with the court and then revisit it. But I know that the speaker cares very much about this issue. The politics of this is that the speaker very rarely signs on to bills, right? Because it sends a message. Very rarely. I mean, she'll vote for the bill once it comes up, but it's very rare that she introduces or signs onto a bill. And that's always sort of the way it is with legislative leaders. So it's not that she doesn't support it. It's just that it sends a message if she signs onto it. And I think, again, our lawyers, whether you agree with them or not, they have been advising us. And look, ultimately it's their job to protect us. That's their job, right? They protect us from City Hall. And that's where we're at. So, but I get it, and she gets it. So, we're fighting.
My point is that even if, and I've said this before, even if we win this case, this bill still needs to pass, and I'm going to explain why. Because they've been passing these copays on to us going back now since 2022 illegally, and the city's still discussing with the lawyers how to pay that back, because that's like $53 million that they illegally collected us. And they revisited the contract, they rewrote it, and they allowed the copays to be put back into place. But those copays were literally done in collective bargaining by unions that we're not in to finance their contracts, right? So in order to protect retirees from those backdoor costs, because we call them backdoor premiums. And the reason why we call them backdoor premiums is because during the course of this litigation, what we learned was when they implemented those copays, the premium to the city of our little supplement is $200 a month, right? That premium went down. When the court stopped those co-pays, the premium went right back up. We call this a backdoor premium because there's a direct correlation between those co-pays and the premiums. And if we don't stop that from happening, and it's not because those plans are expensive, Medicare retirees has never skyrocketed. That's all a fallacy. The plan started in the longest time we've had for cost tracking for senior care goes back to 1997, where senior care cost $88. And today, 2025, that plan costs about $200. That's not skyrocketing. Mm-hmm. So if they're going to keep assessing these backdoor costs on us, it's going to accomplish what they want, is forcing us off traditional Medicare and into a managed care plan, because we're not going to be able to afford to stay on traditional Medicare with the supplement with all of those copays. It was meant as a deterrent. So even if we win this case, this is why I keep saying that this bill is going to have to pass. Now, if we lose this case, what's
the timeline for it?
The decision?
Yeah.
We should have that decision, we believe, in sometime in the next 2-3 weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it should be pretty quick. And even if we lose that case, all that means is that the New York State Court of Appeals didn't have a law that they could hang their hat on that could force the city to uphold its promise. Right. But it doesn't take away any of the things that the court found. The court found that it would be a diminished benefit. People would be harmed, that people would lose their doctors and their hospitals. So this is really important to remember. And that's why the legislature has to pay attention, because even if we lose or if we win, this bill still needs to be passed in some form to protect this population. Because as we always say, what does this population look like? We are elderly, disabled, 9/11 responders and survivors, line of duty widows, and our disabled children. DC 37, which are the lowest paid people in the city of New York, 2/3 of their retirees make under $35,000, like myself. And then 1/3 of them make under $12,000 a year. So if you keep assessing costs, co-pays, increased deductibles, this is going to become prohibitive to them to afford their health care. And then, like the mayor did a year ago, is found that company to wipe out medical debt for all those people. Yeah. You're going to end up having to set up a whole good and welfare fund.
The thing, I think I've said this before, but the thing that is so interesting to me is that when the mayor, when OMB first came to us and said, this was during the migrant crisis. So this was during when Eric Adams was telling everybody that the migrant crisis was going to bankrupt the city. Right. And we all knew that was a bunch of baloney. They came to us and said, we've got to save money. We said, okay, let's hear what you got. They said, we found a great way to save $600 million a year. I said, okay, what do you got? He said, I'm ready. Let's hear it. He said,
getting rid of those old people.
Yeah, we're gonna pull the rug out from underneath a bunch of retirees who make $20,000 a year. We were like, what are you talking about? But here's the thing. Here's the thing that most people don't think about. The past 3 years, since they came to us with this great, fabulous idea, that $600 million has been in the budget. And last I checked, the lights were still on in the city of New York. So clearly, we're not going bankrupt. Right. They can afford to pay for this. So yes, would I like to save $600? Yes, but if we're talking about ripping retirees off of their health care, I think we could find savings somewhere else. Yes. I don't think we need to find those savings because we're already showing we can pay for it. And something like health care is not something that should be on the chopping block.
Right.
But the fact is, for the past 3 years, that money has been in the budget.
Right.
So to act like we need to do this so desperately or else the city's going to go bankrupt is clearly a bunch of nonsense.
Yes.
But what I always say too is like, look, we do have to have a real conversation about the skyrocketing costs of healthcare, of hospitalization, of prescription drugs.
Right.
Like as we're all living, the trajectory here is not great, right? We're all living longer. At the same time, healthcare is getting more and more expensive. So now you got to take care of me until I'm 104 years old, and hospitalization and prescription drugs are through the roof. The bill that Councilmember Menon passed, where she's setting up this Office of Healthcare Accountability, is a great. And this is one of the things I talk about in running for Comptroller is we are not using our leverage as a city to get better rates, to lower the fees, to get better deals. We are just not. We have a $300 billion pension system and a $115 billion budget. We should be going in and renegotiating all of our contracts, all of our deals to get the best possible deal we have. With the purchasing power of the city of New York, you're seeing other states. Like I follow, running for Comptroller now. I actually read about pension studies. It's very exciting. This is what I do on Friday night. But you're seeing other states let's say Texas. Okay, Texas right now is basically pounding their chest like Tarzan, because they're getting their money managers to pull money out of alternative energy and renewable energy and investing only in oil and gas. So the pension managers and the treasurers and the controllers are saying, look, hello, Mr. Money Manager, if you want to manage a little bit of our pension funds, you need to get the heck out of alternative energy. And they're doing it. So the city of New York, with this giant pension fund, we should be going around and saying, we want to renegotiate everything. Tell us what, 32BJ says we're probably losing $2 billion a year on healthcare costs. And if we just renegotiated, we could get a better deal, and we wouldn't have to even be I wouldn't be on the Zoom right now.
Neither would I.
Right, that's what I mean. Like we don't want to be here. And I think it's very short-sighted to say, well, we find a way to save $600 million a year. Let's screw over all these retirees, instead of actually having a real conversation about the long term of what needs to happen here.
Right. Well, and that too is to address some of those costs for active workers and non-Medicare retirees. So it's the active worker, non-Medicare retiree that RFP is that they're renegotiating right now. That's where your skyrocketing costs come in.
Right.
And that needs to definitely be addressed. I'll agree with you there. This RFP will be very interesting. Negotiated acquisition that they're doing now will be very interesting to see what they're coming up with, because rumors are spreading now that there's, from the MLC memos that came out, that they're trying to control costs, but the way that they're doing that is unlike like 32BJ or 1199, where they're trying to manage the providers that are providing care for their members. Right. What the city of New York is doing is managing the patients, is that they're giving you tiered hospitals and tiered providers, additional co-pays and increased deductibles. That's what needs to stop. I think if Julie Menon can get that office to with the state, I think you're going to need more state power on that, is to control hospital pricing the way we used to before Pataki lifted the 1996 hospital pricing.
I just think it's just crazy that in the city of New York, or the state of New York, as big as we are, as important as we are, that we're not having that conversation about just demanding better rates and using our purchasing power and our leverage to get a better deal for healthcare. We can do it. We can't be afraid to try to set that mandate and set the tide. Other states are doing it, and they're much smaller and less important than we are.
No, I definitely hear you on that one. So let's grab a couple of these questions, because they're coming through pretty quickly. Let's go to the first ones first. So here's Sarah. Sarah says, oops, does that want to pop up? Was so happy to hear Justin Brannan's words of support at the Comptroller debate last night.
Yeah, it was interesting, Sarah. One of the moderators, Alyssa Katz from the city, she's the executive editor of the city. She said, when they do these debates, they always ask for input from the public, because they try to ask a question from the public. They said the number one question they got was about Intro 1096 and what are you doing about the retirees? And then today I was watching New York One, and Bob Hart, who's the political director there, he's like, oh my God, they keep asking me about this. And I'm like, well, good. I mean, that's, you should ask look, I always, especially in this moment, I think people need to be demanding more of their politicians, right? Like, this is a moment where you elected us. It's our job in these times of high anxiety and stress and fear that you need to be asking more of your politicians to stand up for you. And if there's things that you care about, that's what you should be asking us.
Well, we are, but they're just not all listening. Okay, so this is a big question because you can only see our eyes. It says, from Ellen, if you are elected, would you provide us with the foundation document for the creation of the Retiree Health Benefits Trust? I foiled this almost a year ago from Lander, and I'm still waiting for a response. The fund was misused as a rainy day fund by the city with no oversight, and apparently is now bankrupt. I think she has two funds confused. So Retiree Health Benefit Trust should have a couple $2 billion in it, and it's the stabilization fund that does not.
Is upside down. Yeah.
Right, and that's the one with no oversight, and that's also the one that's been misused. But the Retiree Health Benefit Trust was like that rainy day fund that was created under Bloomberg as as a trust. It was supposed to pay for healthcare futures. So I'm assuming she's talking about the RHBT, which even the IBO wrote about.
Yeah, but any of these documents you shouldn't even have to FOIL for this stuff. This should just be public information.
Well, we have the foundation documents for stabilization fund,
Okay.
but I don't have any documents for RHBT.
It's like easier to get your hands on the Dead Sea Scrolls, I think.
I don't. Well, then the next thing we'll need to do is get the 9/11 tapes and all those things that they're hiding from us that every mayor's been hiding. Okay, so let's get rid of this one. Let's go back to the top. John says the politics of this is lobbyists telling our leaders what to do. Well, lobbyists always tell you what to do. Sometimes they're right and sometimes they're not. Are you saying we have to wait for the court decision? She's actively blocking 1096, waiting for the court decision, is evading, actively backing us, avoiding us. So she's not even letting, when we went to go to, this was put into civil service and labor. So it's in Carmen De La Rosa's hands. And Carmen refuses to.
Hearing.
Well, in 2023 on 1099.
Yeah.
So we wanted this to go to a hearing and Carmen refuses because she says the speaker doesn't want it to have a hearing. So I'm kind of like fighting a brick wall.
Look, I think we have to wait for the court, the decision comes out in a couple of weeks, then we'll have to revisit it.
So you're thinking that they'd be more moved to move after that last decision comes in?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. David says State Supreme Court Justice Lyle Frank and the Appellate Division find city obligations to retirees via promissory estoppel. And we're hoping that the New York State
I love
Court
that
of
term,
Appeal-
promissory estoppel.
Promissory estoppel.
Sounds like something from Monty Python.
Yeah.
I never asked for a promissory estoppel.
Okay. Marianne O'Grady. Hi, Justin. Who are you endorsing for mayor?
Oh my God. I don't know. I go back and forth with this because I'm running for controller. I think maybe I shouldn't endorse for mayor because literally, I have to hold the next mayor accountable. But people ask me a lot who I like, so I'll probably make a decision soon, but I haven't decided yet.
You want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
So in the last city council race, I was a write-in candidate in 30 different districts.
I love it. You should run for mayor. You might be the only one not running for mayor.
Probably. Okay, Laura. I'm in a meeting right now, but I couldn't wait to give a huge shout out to Councilmember Brannan. I'm sure others have expressed their appreciation about how you spoke beautifully at the New York One debate and now.
Right on.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
See, that's cool. Let's see. I don't know who this is. Thanks for your support of 1099 and 1096. Can you convince your friend, Speaker Adams, that our fight is small at 0.6% of the budget and not a collective bargaining issue? I think she knows that username. I think she knows
Look,
that.
I can tell you behind closed doors, the speaker is absolutely on the side of the retirees. And I understand.
You must know a side of her. I don't.
And behind closed doors, she's on the side of the retirees. But as the leader of the body, she's going to listen to what the lawyers say, and that's what we do. So let's wait for the court hearing to come.
Well, she's willing to fight for so many other things. I just wish she'd fight for us now, so we don't have to. Make it easier. We've been fighting this for 4 years. Do you know that? I know. And I keep saying to everyone, end this, because then you'll only hear from me at Christmas and Hanukkah. But, I guess you like hearing from me and waking up at 3 a.m. and retweeting your stuff. I mean.
What else we got?
Let's see. Yes, Sarah, we're aware retirees need more healthcare as we age and more complex healthcare.
Yeah.
And that's why we are the least expensive to the city, because the first 80% of our bills are covered by Medicare.
Right.
The city, we are the least expensive cost to the city medical bill wise.
You know what really scared the heck out of me was
What?
I started seeing commercials about it was like an ad paid, one of these independent expenditures.
Yeah.
Someone promoting Donald Trump, but also Medicare Advantage. Have you seen this?
No.
Yeah, I got to find it. It was really scary.
Well, and as we keep saying, Medicare Advantage is the default plan of Project 2025, which is why we don't understand. Did you know that?
No.
Medicare.
Maybe that's what the commercial was. I have to find it. It was late at night.
Medicare-
I'm like, what they're talking about?
I'm going to show this to you before you leave today. Medicare Advantage is the default plan. If you pull up Project 2025 online, the default plan is the government is the gentleman that wrote this. I don't want to loosely call him a gentleman. Mr. Voigt wrote this document, who's now also.
But why do they love it so much? Because it's like just privatized?
Because it's it's privatization. They're privatizing and it all goes to big business,
Yeah.
and they're all in bed with insurance companies. So if all of their friends, their gabillionaire friends, are all big insurance, of course they're gonna. If you're my friend and I'm insurance and you want to help me out and you're the president of the United States, aren't you going to funnel as much business as you can to me?
How many of the people running for mayor have signed on to your pledge?
The only ones that did not sign our pledge.
Don't tell me who didn't. I want to know who did.
Everybody but Adrian, Eric, Zoran, and Zelnor.
Okay. Cuomo signed on too?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
We have a website. Guys, I'm going to tell him, right? We have a website called retiredlaborstrong.nyc.
I've seen it, yeah.
Have you seen it with the night? Actually, I think you have seen it because we made a little image for you.
Yeah.
You are on it now. And we gave you the stars and it made it all fancy. And
well, that's good. I mean, you got a lot of
every candidate.
Okay.
But Adrian, Eric,
I mean, she's got a day job, you know. Keep going.
I did give him the eye. I did. I gave him the stink eye. Don't worry. What does she say? She says, that's not true. She signed a bill for guinea pigs. She did.
I'm telling you, when I'm in the room and you guys aren't in the room, she's on board. She gets it. But our lawyers say what they say. I mean,
hold on a second. The lawyers, we know the lawyers weren't really convinced by this. Wink, wink.
Keep going.
Okay, I'll keep going. The idea of using pensions as leverage is not appealing. I don't know what you mean by that, Sarah.
So, Sarah, I'm not saying. So here's the thing. Like, I'm not suggesting. First of all, I would never play politics with people's money in the pension funds. Your job as controller is to grow and protect the pensions. It needs to be steady and stable and quiet. And you should never hear about the pension. You should only hear about it when you say, wow, they got a great return this year. What I'm saying is we need to leverage the power of how much money we have to get better deals for our city. That's what I mean. I think, Sarah, I think you asked the question last night.
Sarah from Yorkville.
Yeah. Take the last train to Yorkville. Yeah. No, I mean, and that's what it is. I mean, I'm saying.
It was Clarksville, though.
I know.
He wasn't a Monkees fan, I guess.
I was a Monkees fan.
Were you? Okay. Just checking.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I'm saying. I just think with the purchasing power that we have as a city and as a state, we should not have to have these conversations. I mean, look, and I understand. Yeah, I think Mario Cuomo said, right? You govern you campaign in poetry, you govern in prose. I understand that once you're in the room, these things aren't so black and white. But I mean, other states are doing it. Other states are playing hardball when it comes to investments. We can be doing the same exact thing.
No, I agree with that. There's got to be a way of using that leverage.
Yeah. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah. Ellen, why can't I get the retiree health benefit? I don't know why you can't get them, but I'm going to tell you, I probably file about 6 different foils a month. And I know they hate me, especially OLR. Poor Mr. Geller. He knows, like, he's up at like all hours of the night.
You have like your own box.
Yes, they must have made me like my own ombudsman for foil.
We got another one.
But I'm going to tell you, I have dozens that are over a year old, Ellen. So don't feel like they're only alienating you. They're alienating everybody.
That's nice.
Yeah, and the press will tell you too, because if you talk to like Katie Honan or Jeff, they'll all tell you that they're foil.
They'll say all the time, just got a foil back. No. They'll say, the foil is delayed, but the request was from 2018.
Right.
We need a little bit more time.
I get those as well. Don't feel bad, Ellen. Let's see. Good op-ed article in AM New York about Medicare Disadvantage scam and the rug being pulled out from under New York City Medicare retirees. Also, an investigation of the misuse of the Health Stabilization Fund. That should be another article. We can try to do that one as well. But I have asked Gail Brewer, who is oversight and investigations, to do that investigation, and that's kind of fallen on deaf ears. But who knows? Dan says he's a retired police officer. What do you think about Henry Garrido's head of the MLC and DC 37 threatening council members if they back our bill by signing onto it as a council member? Don't expect any support or endorsements from DC 37, which is the largest union in the city. So Dan, I'm going to answer that one because We spoke out against that. We thought that that was absolutely horrible because unions shouldn't be dictating to elected officials what they should do. But I also don't think elected officials or candidates should be reliant upon them. That's why it was really critical that our organization actually got politically involved, because we wanted to let candidates know that even if the unions don't have your back, that if you support us, we would support you. Because even though the union likes to take claim like that, though we represent about 50,000 retirees. No, they don't, or they wouldn't have had us here, and he probably never would have known us. So, so we represent ourselves. And
I'll just say, I mean, they never threatened me. So,
no. Okay, good for you. We know that they unendorsed one candidate, and they did send a couple of people some pretty nasty letters. But
yeah, I mean, because I was signed on to 1099, and
Yeah.
DC 37 still endorsed me. So,
yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah. What else we got?
All right, so let's see. Laura, this is great. We needed your clearness and energy, Councilman Brown, and it was worth the wait. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
I don't know what meeting you're in, but hopefully if you're down the block, I'll come meet you for a drink later. She said Medicare Advantage is depleting the federal Medicare trust fund. So you know what that means? So they like to say that these Medicare Advantage plans are free to the city. So the city wanted it because it was premium free and there was no cost to the city. But while the city isn't paying the premium for the healthcare plan, like the senior care plan is about $200 a month to Emblem, these Advantage plans are offering these plans to the city at no cost, because literally it is privatization of Medicare. Medicare is giving the insurance company like, hey, Aetna, the city of New York doesn't want to pay that senior care anymore for those retirees. We're going to pay you to administer Medicare for them in a privatized version, and you can control it. And we're going to pay you to do that. Now, you all know Medicare is fee for service. You go to the doctor, the doctor submits the bill, the doctor pays it. If you don't go to the doctor, there's no bill. Right. Medicare, however, Medicare Advantage, Medicare literally pays an insurance company to administer Medicare. So they will pay Aetna like over $1,000 a month, whether you go to the doctor or not. Wow. And then
that's why they want to keep this stuff going.
Yes. And they also do what they call upcoding. So then they're going to say, Justin, great to have you on Medicare Advantage. I'm coming to your house for a healthy home visit, and I'm going to give you a $200 gift card if you do it. And I just want to make sure that, you know, we care about you.
And then they bill.
And then they go back to Medicare and they were like, oh, we were at his house. You got to see all these drugs and all the stuff that he's doing. He's a high risk. We need more than $1,000.
Do most of your members support single payer universal health care?
So you have a large segment of population that does support single payer and the New York Health Act. Right. And Gustavo Rivera, Senator Rivera, yeah, as well as Dick Godfrey, who was at an event we were at with Chris Marte last week, was there also to talk about our issue, but they've been trying to debunk a lot of myths that are coming out of some of the larger unions, UFT and DC 37, that the New York Health Act would deplete the what does Mulgrew say? It would put a hole in the budget or destroy their taxes. So what they wanted to say was in the bill that this plan, there was also conspiracy theories about how it would affect retirees. Well, if retirees don't live in New York State, the New York Health Act doesn't benefit them. They stay on the employer plan, right? So, and then there was a committee that was supposed to be formed 18 months after the bill was passed that would work on trying to figure out how they could include out-of-state retirees from New York. So if you are an out-of-state New York retiree and let's say you live in Florida, you wouldn't be on the New York Health Plan, you'd still be on your senior care plan. So there really wouldn't be any loss to you. That would obligate the employer to carry what they've always had. The benefit would be for the people that are living in New York, the employees and the retirees that live here, because that plan then would give you a plan, as Dick and Gustavo would say, with no copays, no networks, no prior authorizations, that it's a really good plan, and that it would also and provide you with a long-term care plan, which most of us that are taking care of parents or have know how expensive that can get. So that plan, the unions have been against. They were for it for the beginning. And I'll tell you, it was a couple of years ago. Then they did like a 360. And I want to say it was like 2017 or 2018. And the reason why was they were thinking that they would lose control of their collective bargaining. But they're not understanding if every time they go to the bargaining table, they're negotiating away their health care. That's a problem. So we wanted to make sure that they understand this is like a safety net for them. They'd have a better healthcare plan with a long-term care plan, and they wouldn't have to negotiate away their health benefits for raises or increased copays and increased deductibles because the New York Health Act didn't have any of that. So that's the talking points to that.
I mean, like, I want strong unions and strong, like, and
Oh,
good
so do
healthcare.
we.
Yeah, I mean, that's and there's no reason why we can't have all this stuff.
No, it's not. And it's just a matter of educating them.
They shouldn't be put in a place where they have to rob from Peter to pay Paul.
No, or Marianne. That would really help.
What else you got?
Let's see. Ellen says, thanks for your support.
Thank you, Ellen.
CJP says, let's get serious here. Project 2025 is the Trump administration manifesto that makes Medicare disadvantage is the Medicare default option for all Medicare retirees. Let's get serious. At CJ, that's what exactly what I've been saying. I have to find
that commercial. I thought I was hallucinating. It was like late at night. Like I woke up on the couch and I'm like, I'm hearing the words Medicare Advantage and Trump is on the TV. And it's like, thank you, Donald Trump, for supporting Medicare Advantage.
Oh, because I think I know what you're talking about.
It was some, one of these really shadowy groups, but their name is like Good Government for Washington or something.
Yeah, there was a group like that tried to interfere in our court case, actually, taking the side of the city against us. And it was something like the Civil Service Healthcare Roundtable. It was like shady, like Civil Service Healthcare Roundtable. That must be really great. And then we looked at it and it was like a lobby pack for big insurance that supported Medicare Advantage. No. It wasn't for us. No. And because I think Trump raised the reimbursement rates to the insurance companies where the Biden administration had decreased them, because by increasing the reimbursements to these privatized insurance companies that sell Medicare Advantage plans, you're depleting the Medicare trust fund faster. So that's the concern.
You're cannibalizing yourself.
Right. So what many of us say, like even Senator Warren, is that if we did away with Medicare Advantage plans and instead invested in Medicare, then you could actually supplement the benefits with maybe a vision or a dental or a hearing or something that improve the benefits that we have. But because we're really handing so much money over to these private insurance companies, I mean, literally like the capitated rate that Medicare pays to like an Aetna, for example, for Medicare for a New York City person would be over $1,100 a month, whether you go to the doctor or not. And that money is coming out of federal tax dollars.
This stuff to me, in my soul, it's like, look, okay, if you have more money than I do, help yourself to a nicer car, a nicer house, nicer bed sheets or something, whatever the hell you eat, nicer food, I don't know. But our healthcare should be the same. Just because you have more money than I do should not mean that you have better access to doctors. And that's just a human.
Yes. Let me tell you why that's important. And thank you for saying that. Because Medicare was founded in 1965 and it was passed. It was one of the greatest civil rights achievements ever in healthcare. And I'm going to get a documentary that was partly done by CUNY on this and see if we can make a presentation to the council. It was narrated by Danny Glover, and you might see me posting like a little 2-minute trailer about it here and there. But what it did was it ended when Medicare Medicaid was founded in 65. The president said, Lyndon Johnson, if doctors and hospitals want to be reimbursed by the federal government to cover medical bills for Medicare and Medicaid patients, then you have to end discrimination in healthcare. You have to stop colored waiting rooms and white waiting rooms. You have to stop not treating patients because of the color of their skin or their income level. And if you want this federal reimbursement, this is what you have to do. And Medicare Medicaid Act actually ended that. It ended discrimination and segregation in healthcare in 1965. This is why this was powerful. So when you see, for example, this new RFP for active workers is concerning to me, where I say I'm concerned about it, it's because it would create tiers of healthcare. Or when, like we heard another union leader say that we would give you a pay-up plan to stay on traditional Medicare. No, because then there would be people that would not be able to pay, and it would create different tiers of care. Those who had more money could pay. Those who didn't, you'd get the crappier health care.
But just for clarity, Medicare Advantage has always been an option.
Always. And it was founded as an option.
Okay.
It wasn't until, this is the scary part, where the Clinton administration was leaving and passed a rule passed without any oversight or open comment period with the public that allowed the Secretary of Health to have this sweeping power to grant waivers to employers and unions to auto-enroll their retirees into Medicare Advantage for seamless transition into MA.
Wow.
And it wasn't implemented until under Bush. We learned about this when MedicareAdvocacy.org, a Medicare organization, nonprofit up in Connecticut, that's run by David Lipschitz, who said, wrote an article about us in 2021, and we were shocked. I'll send that to you just to refresh your memory on it. But he wrote to us and told us, like, this is why this is happening to you, because we didn't understand how that could happen. Like, why could you force us off a federal public health benefit, a safety net? And force us into this plan.
I always say this too, like if the city wants to change the healthcare plan for someone that's going to start working tomorrow morning.
Right.
When Joe comes into work with his lunch pail tomorrow morning for his first day at the office at Department of Transportation.
Right.
If his hiring manager says, Joe, I'm sorry, but the healthcare that we told you were going to get before you start working today, I got to tell you, we got to change it.
Yes.
If you want to have that conversation, the time to have it is on the first day you start working.
Right.
Once you're employed and you're working, that's it. That's the covenant that you have. And that's, for me, that's what this whole thing is about, is that I got it. Healthcare, we need to have a real conversation about this. Your head is in the sand if you think healthcare costs are coming down. They're going into orbit. But to take someone who's been retired for decades and say, hello there, Mrs. Jones, it's insane, and it's not what we are as a city. If you need to cut, you need to bring down costs, you've what's the saying? We've tried nothing and we're all out of options, right? It's like fine, you want to change people's healthcare, you got to do it for the guy that hasn't started working for the city yet, and maybe they'll still want to take the job, and maybe they won't. But this is also a time, and this is something we talk about a lot in the council, where this administration has completely hollowed out some of these agencies, that the staffing level is skeletal. And a lot of these agencies are very top heavy. So the actual worker bees on the bottom levels, the entry level jobs, there's nobody there. And that's why some of these agencies are so slow and inefficient and dysfunctional. But part of the problem is that it's hard to attract people to come work for the city. And when they start hearing about stuff like this, where they're taking someone who's been retired for 40 years and suddenly changing their healthcare plan, that gets even more harder now to attract good talent.
Right.
Like it has a real chilling effect across the board.
No, I agree with you. I agree there. Joe's upset because I missed his question. So it's a hardball question, he says. He says, you're the chair of the finance committee with a total of 17 council members. Only you and Gail Brewer have signed on to 1096, and 15 other council members of your committee basically ignore us. As chair, you have a lot of power, but you failed to really do anything to help us get the retirees.
Thanks, Joe.
He did warn me it was a hardball question. You still have a lot of time as city council members to show the retirees you support us. Don't wait until your Comptroller election is over, because right now your present position.
Joe, I'll say this. I mean, all of us, no matter what happens in 13 days, we're all still going to be here till the end. You're all still going to be here till the end of the year. We're not going anywhere. You know where I live. And we're going to have a court decision before too long. So let's see what happens. I mean, I think the public opinion has really turned on this issue, turned in the right way, that people see that this is wrong, and that if you're against privatization, that you should be against this plan, or forcing people onto this plan. And I think we just need to see how it plays out.
They seem to like the way you say Comptroller.
It's very friendly.
Thanks, Janice. Ellen says, the city is apparently trying to do a self-funding for employee healthcare. Many other large local entities have been doing this for decades. Do you have any comment on that?
I'm not aware of it.
So self-funding would be that the city would be paying for that rather. And the way that they're doing it now, then they say that this is the first time that they're doing this, but I think they've kind of quasi been doing it before. At least that's what we've been told. But self-funding is that they're the ones paying the bills.
Oh, okay.
The administration.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll see how that turns out. But right now that plan is still being negotiated and there's nothing final on it. Let's see. David says, Happy to hear you are now supporting us. Longtime Bay Ridge resident, 40 plus years. Thanks, David.
Right on. Thanks, David. I'll see you in a little while. Getting on the R train.
Ellen says, I loved your New York One debate closing remarks.
Oh, cool. I don't even remember what I said, but thanks. Thanks for watching.
It was a pretty spry. I enjoyed it.
Never a dull moment.
No, I hate the Joan Namath, J.J. Walker, Doris commercials. I know, I hate them too.
Oh, God.
It's absolutely crazy. Ellen says Project 2025 is gunning for all Medicare eligibles.
Does Project 2025 actually mention Medicare Advantage?
Yes, it does.
Actually mentions it?
Yes, it does.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to see if I can literally pull that up and then share my screen. Let's do Project
That's frightening.
2025. Let's do Project 2025 and see if it'll give me the document, or I got to like hunt for
You have
it.
to foil for it.
No. Ellen.
I don't even want that on my computer.
I actually had to read it because I wanted to
When
make
feds
sure.
come knocking down my door. They're going to see I have the Heritage Foundation on my hard drive.
Yeah, that would be bad. Okay, mandate
It
for
looks,
leaders.
It even looks scary.
I know. And then I want to put in Medicare. I know it's in here. Oh, it's extracting. Come on.
Yeah, but it's like 7,000 pages.
920.
We're going to read every one tonight, guys. Strap in. We're going to read the whole thing to you.
Okay, so let's do Medicare. I know it's in here. It's like downloading 920 pages, and it's probably putting like.
Yeah, it says it's still it's only up to like page 16. All right, whatever. Send it to me later.
All right, I'll send it to you
But
later.
that
and I'll
is
prove it to you.
really horrifying.
It is. So it's on page page 498. And I probably have it on my cell phone where I could show you.
And
the
what does it
image.
say? It says that is the gold standard?
It is the default plan. So they want to make sure that when you are Medicare eligible,
Right.
you will go into a Medicare Advantage plan.
And you will enjoy it.
I guess so. That's
You will get nothing and you will enjoy it.
I know when I found it, I took a snapshot of it and put it in my phone. Here you go. Here, Project 2025. I'll show you guys this later. And then it says on page 465, make Medicare Advantage the default enrollment option.
I mean, that alone.
Yeah.
What else do you need to know?
I'm telling you, when I saw this, people
gotta
said
send that
you're
to me.
crazy. It's can you see that?
I'll take
Project 2020. I'll post it later.
That's nuts.
Yep. It is absolutely crazy.
Wow.
It is absolutely this is why I keep saying, if you're a Democrat in the city of New York and you're allowing this plan to be implemented, you should turn in your Democrat card, because I'm not kidding.
No, I'm
It's
not kidding. When I woke up to that commercial, I was like, oh my, I had no idea.
Yeah, like when Jessica, there was that first mayoral debate at DC 37 held, Jessica was the first one that said we shouldn't, on the stage, she said we should not be forcing people into the default plan of Project 2025. I don't think anyone else understood what that meant, but we literally had that on a truck outside.
Wow.
Like, to let people know that this is what this is and this is why we're fighting this. But people don't understand. It's literally in that document.
That's insidious. It's scary.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's even more scary is that Democrats don't get it. So, and we keep saying they're angry that they didn't win the election in November. That's why they're not listening. CJP said, oh yeah, I already saw that. I saw that. Okay. Then there's another, let's get serious here. These $15 copay visits diminish our senior care, 20% coinsurance. I know. So some of the things that we're learning with these copays that they did. So for example, I got hurt at court in November and I had to go to physical therapy 3 times a week. So now you know what I make. My pension's a $35,000 pension. PT's 3 times a week.
Right.
I have frozen shoulder. If anyone ever has that, it is miserable. Literally my shoulder froze. I couldn't move it. It wakes me up in pain at 3:00 in the morning every day. And they had to knock me out and put me to sleep to rip the scar tissue in my arm in order to get half of my motion back. And they told me it could take another year before I get the rest of the motion back. So now you go to physical therapy 3 times a week, 15, 15,
Right,
15.
every time. Yeah.
Right. So now you're paying 15 times 3. Now we have some retirees that are going to a doctor that's like at an NYU or Presbyterian or Montefiore, whose their doctor is at a hospital. Their office is literally in a hospital.
Yeah, sure. A lot. That's more and more is like
they get a $15 copay
every time
and a $15 facility fee. So now their copays are $30. Wow. Now put someone like me who's on a $30,000 pension, or some of our other retirees who are on $15,000 or $20,000 pensions. That's why we need 1096. Yeah. Because this will force us into an inferior healthcare plan because we can't afford those copays. And those copays aren't there for any reason. Emblem testified in the court case that they didn't put those copays on because they wanted to. They were told to. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, here we go. I have been telling everyone not to vote for Levine. Thank you.
You got to add in to vote for me.
Yeah. Everyone vote for Justin. So that's very sweet, Judy. Let's see. Smart move, getting on 1096. Retirees vote, unions don't. Just ask the UFT 75% that didn't vote in the recent re-election. That's sad. Yeah, I don't know if you know that only like 28% of people voted in that UFT election.
We have a problem with that across the country.
Yeah, it's an apathy that we need to find a way to change. What are happening?
I see this question. Well, didn't Richie Torres introduce a bill too or something?
I think that was to quiet some of my Riverdale retirees, because that bill never went anywhere.
There are bills floating around on the federal level, no?
Yeah, they're
not going to go anywhere now.
No, there were. I don't know what they're doing now, but there was a bill to take Medicare name out of Medicare Advantage and call it something else.
It would be the same thing, but with a different.
Yeah, because people are confused. They think it's Medicare, but it's not.
Oh, I see.
There was even one of the biggest union leaders who thought Medicare is a government program. Medicare is not a government program. It's just paid by the federal government to privatize it. It's not a Medicare program. It is an alternative to Medicare. But yes, AOC did. I heard the AOC did a bill to eliminate the upcoding. I really wished she would have come out more to support us, but she felt not so inclined. But I will tell you, when we went to Congress, we took 100 retirees to Congress, and we were welcomed by Senator Elizabeth Warren, Ro Khanna, Pramila Jayapal.
Oh, I remember when you guys.
Yeah. Rosa DeLauro.
No, this is right.
Mark Pocan.
This is right in their wheelhouse.
Dude, we were embraced by the progressive leader of the progressives in Congress, and I can't get New York City progressives to love me. There's something wrong with this.
We need to do more of these, I think.
But these, I'll do these all day long. You're the first one I'm doing in person. Let's see. Promises made should be promises kept.
That's true. That's foundational.
I do agree with you. Okay, we answered that one. I'm scrolling back down. Let's see. Let's send Honorable Justin Brannan a copy of Project 2025 and specify the section.
Tie it up with a bow.
I'm telling you,
I don't want to read it. I just want that one page.
It's on page 465. I'll send it to you, and I'll post it again.
That's really frightening.
You guys, you hear me talk all the time, and where do you think I'm coming up with this when I say Eric Adams and Adrian Adams, or I call them the Adams family, are forcing us into the default?
They could be more different.
Shush. It works. I even put a tune to it. Did you see my candidates in cars having coffee?
No.
You didn't?
No.
Dude, we have to show him my video.
I'm trying to run a campaign here.
No. I literally put Eric Adams and Adrian Adams in my 1971 Volkswagen.
Get out of here.
I made them, like Flat Stanley, I had Flat Adrian and Flat Eric.
I don't think people understand the work that Adrian does, the amount of work that she does as a backstop to the crazy stuff that City Hall tries to do. If she wasn't standing in that breach, it would be very ugly. All right, come on.
You're defending the enemy. Let's see. More questions. Ellen. We never had copays before. Copays are generally used to prevent patients from getting Medicare that's not medically necessary. But in terms of a Medigap plan, it doesn't pay a penny unless Medicare already approved the service as medically necessary. That's a great point, Ellen. So our supplement plan that the city gives us, Medicare is primary, the supplement is secondary. The secondary does not pay a dime if Medicare doesn't pay. The co-pays are literally punitive for using healthcare. It's not going to slow you down from anything, because if you need healthcare, you need healthcare. And that's what's scary about them tiering hospitals, is because if they do that, you will have like people who live within a couple blocks of a hospital, like Presbyterian or Westchester Med or one of the other Columbia Preds, that would be considered like a tier 3 hospital and more expensive co-pays and higher deductibles. But that's where their trusted doctors are and their records are. So if they don't want to pay the higher cost because that is a tiered facility in the tier 2 or tier 3 level, then you're forcing them to go to a hospital where their trusted doctors aren't, their records aren't, and that they lose their continuity of care and their quality of care. So that's another issue. I think copays are strictly punitive. And actually, we have a video of Claire Levitt from January 9th of 2023, where she testified in that, remember that 12-hour hearing we had when they went to 874? She said that they imposed behavioral economics, and she did it with this evil cackle. Like we imposed behavioral economics where we increased copays from $50 to $150 just to prevent people from going to the emergency room.
Oh my God, that's just evil.
You have to see her face. She was so excited that she was penalizing people to discourage them from using the ER. But if you needed it, what were you going to do? And the fee got waived, she said, if you got admitted. But what if it was still an urgent thing and you needed to go to the hospital, but you didn't get admitted, because hospitals don't always like admitting you?
Pain is profit for these companies.
Yeah, well, and obviously for labor relations. So when you run for mayor, I would be looking to run for your commissioner for labor, because I think we need to set a few things straight. Let's see. Yep.
How much more time we got?
That's it. Well, we're about 7, so we're an hour, so you're good.
Cool.
So I'm going to give you, because there's no more questions.
I'm being released for good
You're
behavior.
being released for good behavior. Well, I'm going to give you the last few minutes to close, since this is your time, and I'm going to move out of the picture, and you can say whatever you want.
Thank you, Marianne. Thank you. Thank you to all the New York City retirees. I know how long you've been fighting. I know how frustrating this is. I know how this seems like such a no-brainer, and how frustrating it might be to not have the support that you deserve or that you think you deserve. I get it, which is why I've signed on to both bills and why I'm trying to be as loud and proud as I can on this issue. Honestly, seeing that commercial with Donald Trump really, I think I texted Marianne the next morning, like, this is nuts. Like, and honestly, the Project 2025 stuff, like, that's not a joke. Like, that's something that I think more people need to know about. And look, I think that one of the reasons why I'm running for controller is because I think over the next 4 years, typically no one knows what your controller does. No one knows what their local treasurer or controller does. But I think over the next 4 years, people are going to learn very quickly who their controllers and treasurers are, because we're seeing so many cuts, and every day there's some new fresh hell coming from Washington. And with the city budget that relies, it's almost 10% of our city's budget comes from federal grants and federal subsidy. And there's not a city in this country that can survive without those grants and that subsidy. So we're going to need to get creative, and we're going to need to really build a fiscal firewall around the city to take care of each other, because we can't just stick our heads in the sand for the next 4 years and just say, we're just going to wait it out until Donald Trump is gone. Like, we've got to fight back. And the slow erosion of our democracy is the privatization of everything good and public is a big part of that slow erosion. So, and Medicare Advantage is one of those pieces. So it's important to fight back and stand up and demand more of your elected officials. And but you have an ally in me. Running for city controller, the election's in 13 days. When you go to vote for mayor, the Muhammad Ali title fight underneath there will be the race for controller. I'm Justin Brannan, and if you vote for me, I'll never forget it, and I'll keep fighting for you no matter what. Because win or lose, I still go back to work at the city council for the next 6 months, and we got a lot of work to do. So thank you all very much.
All right, everyone. So I'm going to close this here. Put on your calendar for this Saturday at 5 p.m. We are doing a kickoff virtual rally from Maya Kornberg for District 39. online. So I'll be sending out that link tomorrow. But just put that on your calendar because it's really, really important that we can support people that are looking to support you. And that's really, oh, look, it says Bulldog love you. Since you said you were the Bulldog. So it's really, really important for you guys to make sure that you are supporting people that are supporting you. We put out a list an email yesterday, I think it was last night about 9:30, and it listed a few candidates that are looking for your assistance. If you would please click those links that I sent you and consider helping them out because they could really use your support. Remember, we're not going to get this bill passed if we can't get people in the council. God willing, we get this bill passed now this year before the year is over. We know that that court decision will be coming in a few weeks. We believe it will be coming in the next 10 days, which will then give us an idea of how much work we have to do in the city council to get this bill passed. So once that's done, and hopefully Councilman Brannan is accurate that there'll be more of a feeling to work with us in moving that bill, then we will make sure we will know what the procedure is to do that and what we have to do to get that done by the end of this year. Otherwise, for next year, we'll have to make sure we have people in office that will willing to support you. So Saturday, 5 o'clock, I'll make sure that link goes out. You guys have a great evening, and I will see you on the radio Friday morning and probably a Friday Night Live if I get back on time. So I'll see you soon. Bye.
Don't speak what you don't understand. The truth is not in your command. Don't shout about what you think is fake. The decision isn't yours to make. Don't lie about the way things are. Tall tales will take you very far. Don't scoff when they say it's the end. In this life, you know you can't pretend. The days pass by, they've set in stone. But it's not too late now for you to change your tone.